They're calling it, Nate, the hip drop tackle. That's what they're calling it. And I'm going to let you explain it. Now, I could explain it, but I'm going to let you explain it. You've been on the field, and I know you. I have seen a picture of you tackling somebody in a Dolphins uniform with a hip drop tackle. I know for a fact you've done it on the field. So go ahead and tell me what a hip drop tackle is.
All right, hip drop tackle is basically when you're in it's the position that you're in to bring defender down. Most of the time, you want to be in a proper position where it's either in front of them and so forth, but that does not always happen. So when a hip drop tackle is when you're basically latch yourself onto the backside of the runner, and you use your body weight to drag and bring them down. But equivalent to the hip drop tackle is very similar. It's an action very similar to the horse collar, which was banned and outlawed, years ago because of what it does to your ankles and whatnot. There's a potential of breaking your ankle, tearing ligaments in your knee and your leg, things like this. But I mean, again, it's we just had a conversation on the 33rd team about the hip drop tackle and whatnot. And it's very equivalent, like the injuries that what the horse collar does. So we're all talking about player safety and whatnot. And I think we need to show videos and just so people can see what exactly it does.
Okay. And you want me to show the video that you.
Yeah, this is the video.
Okay.
Like one of these videos. Excuse me. With Geno Smith. This one right here. Look how his ankle gets caught underneath the body. Now, again, that's a high ankle sprain. A broken ankle that can even be a torn ACL or something. Now, guys will miss minimum. With a high ankle sprain, 6 to 8 weeks. I think if I'm not mistaken, there was a game where this happened to Patrick Mahomes, and again, we're talking about player safety. I don't like the necessary rule change, but if we're going to talk about safety, we want to eliminate things of this sort so players can have longer careers and whatnot, because the game of football is already a volatile game. So we got to be conscious of that aspect. Now, it's a catch-22 because I understand the concept with the horse collar, but now you have a lot of players that are smaller, than certain tight ends, and some receivers are abnormally big, and you got to find a way to get these guys to the ground, so you can live to fight another down. But now what they're doing is they're minimizing the opportunities, that players have in tackling and whatnot, and finding a way that guys are going to get fined, guys are going to get 15-yard penalties. And this hip drop tackle, like if this call is called in a crucial point of the game, we're looking at not only a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down, but we're also looking at that guy receiving a FedEx envelope that has an NFL fine. So it's a lot, and there's more rule changes that are getting ready to take place, but this is the biggest one so far.
Now, I will ask, Nate, Geno did miss several weeks because of this tackle.
Yes, substantial.
And Drew Lock came in and
he fared pretty well.
Games.
He fared pretty well. I mean, he fared pretty well, but again, this is a quarterback-driven league, and you don't want guys, again, your star players and your quarterbacks and whatnot to miss extensive time because of this right here. Now, we're already at a place right now where you can't touch your quarterback unless you're going to get a penalty called on you. So that's that's where we're at.
Well, let me ask you something. I'm going to play another. Now, I saw RG3 kind of ran about it on Twitter. I'm going to play another kind of play. I want you to tell me the alternative. Now, I'm going to show you Logan Wilson tackling Mark Andrews. He's almost to the end zone. I want you to tell me the alternative of what Logan Wilson is supposed to do in this situation to not get Mark Andrews to that end zone. It's kind of fast.
No. This is what happened. This is very much the same thing that happened with Geno Smith and whatnot. You're just trying to catch. You're trying to get him down so you can, again, keep them from getting the touchdown. Again, the name of the game is scoring points, scoring touchdowns and whatnot. So we got to stop the opposing team from scoring touchdowns. Now, this is one of those situations where it's an unfortunate situation, but he had to get him to the ground at any means necessary.
Okay, but if you can't tackle him from behind like this, what's the alternative from stopping him from going into the end zone? How do you prevent a hip drop tackle?
All right, so we did tackling drills like in special teams we have the wrap and roll, which again very similar to the ankle, or excuse me, the hip drop tackle, but you're actually wrapping your legs around and all in one motion, rolling and trying to get him to the ground. Sometimes sweeping the ankles, but I'm gonna tell you, these guys are so athletic nowadays that they can get easily out of that. It's a catch-22 because you're damned if you do, but you're damned if you don't.
And I want to talk about another kind of player that had an injury. Now, I don't know if you remember Kenyon Drake. I think he went to the Raiders and the
Yeah.
Cardinals. I think he's on the, I don't even know, Ravens now. I don't even know what team he's on. Well, he had an injury that prevented him from playing. I don't know if when he was on the Raiders, I think it was when he was on the Raiders, which kind of made him fall off because of a hip drop tackle. Now, he had a bad ankle injury because of a hip drop tackle. He goes in and he's all for it. He's like, this will protect ball carriers like myself, and people's like ankles and legs won't be taking the fall. It'll be people getting fined and stuff. Well, in my opinion, if Saquon is running the ball and somebody hip drop tackles him,
Mm-hmm.
that man's legs are so big, he's not going to get injured.
No.
He's not going to get injured. Now, for
But
Kenyon Drake, all I'd say is go to the weight room. That's what's going to fix your problem.
in that aspect, we know Saquon has already had, he has a known history of having ankle problems. So
He
that's
does.
the catch-22 on that one.
It is, and I just hate it because the NFL is basically banning tackling from behind.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, if you cannot successfully wrap up above the hip area to where you're going to fall to their hips, because naturally, if you can't wrap up by their shoulders or their chest area, your arms are going to fall to the widest thing that that player has, and that will be their hips, because you're not going to wrap up on their stomach because your arms are falling from their chest area, so your arms are not enough in to tackle at their stomach. So it's going to naturally fall to their hips. That's why they call it a hip drop. And then you're fine. Bam, 15 yards, you're fined. What can you do? And it's for safety. It's for safety. That's all they're doing.
that's all it is now. Safety in itself. I mean, the Roger Goodell and the owners, the competition committee, they want to make the game safer. I mean, it's kind of hard because it's a volatile game as it is. Every second is a collision, and that's the nature of the game. Every game somebody gets hurt, but trying to make the rules to where guys when it's all said and done, you have a decent decent living, a decent way of life, you know what I'm saying, and just again live life to the fullest and not have any restrictions and so forth.
And I do like this comment, which is why I kept it up for so long. It gives refs another subjective call to make, and it's going to ruin games in the future. It's going to help Vegas. If there's a bunch of money going towards one team, it's going to help Vegas cash in all that money, and it's going to help the NFL script.
Come on, not the NFL script.
It's going to help the script, Nate, because it just gives them one more power than they had previously.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
And that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah.
Now we have more news, and I want to touch on it quick because we have about 3 minutes. I want to touch on it quick.
Oh, yeah.
They changed the kickoff rule, and I want to touch on it just real quick. Instead of lining up where people are running back and then forward and then clashing with each other, they actually had a change of rule where, and these are all keep in mind, these are all owners voting for these rules. The NFLPA is not voting for these. None of the players are having any say so in this. This is all ownership. People that have the money are voting for these rules. No players are voting for this. Now, you have the ball at the 35-yard line at a kickoff, right? And usually you will have people kind of staggered around the field until it gets to that returner that's all the way in the back of the end zone. And then you have people running after each other like you're watching what's the Sparta movie? 300?
This is Sparta.
Yeah, like you're running into each other and all this stuff. And then now it's basically a wall right in front of that kicker. Now you're going to have 5 people on one side of the ball, 5 people on the other side of the ball. You got the 35-yard line, you got the 40-yard line. That entire returning team is going to line up 5 yards across from the ball. That way, when they clash, there won't be any injury, hopefully. And that returner is going to be all by himself. So now, if somebody gets through that wall somehow, some way, that
Mhm.
returner, if he don't make a cool little juke move and get away, he's going to be down at the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
What you think about that?
I mean, kickoffs are actually one of the ways, like one of the higher impact injuries, because guys are running a good deal and it's collision. Now, I'm sorry about that. No, I'm sorry about that. But, just again, changing the game in itself and the game how we know it. I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't agree with this rule change and whatnot. But again, minimizing, head and neck injuries because guys are running down the field full speed and there's a collision. Now, remember they took out the wedge block in the football, which again it took out again a lot of concussions went down, a lot of the head and upper neck injuries went down drastically. Now, what they're trying to do is again same thing is just drastically change the numbers and let them fall to where guys won't be getting hurt as much. So this is a part of the game. Again, we got more rule changes that's getting ready to take place and whatnot between the competition committee and the owners, and we just got to go with it.
And I personally, I want the NFLPA to have a say on these types of rules because they're the ones that have been in the shoes. Now, there are some, higher ups that played football 50, 60 years ago, sure, but the game's different now. You have people that are in the NFLPA, like you, Nate, who have been in the game more recently than these owners, if these owners have ever played football, and they're not having any say in this. So I want it, and it's just right that the NFLPA has a say on these types of rules, and that's all I have to say about the subject.
Yeah,